All right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Nasara 17 podcast. We are so blessed again to have our good friend Jim Willie on from golden-jackass.com. And, he has great information over there. We recommend that you send him a donation, subscribe to the newsletter, and all that. He's really been cranking out awesome information lately that the mainstream's not talking about. And there's a lot of financial analysts and financial people. I'm not an analyst, but there's a lot of people talking about tariffs, financial stuff, not many talking about what's going on in the background. So today we'd like to hit on several different cylinders, if you will, and we'd like to start off with you want to start off with the tariffs, Jim, and kind of what's happening in the background, or where do you want to go?
Sure, we can talk about tariffs. It's not my favorite subject, but yeah, it's a big issue right now. I just read that Trump brought in $23 billion worth of tariff income. And let me just say that I do not believe any analyst who says that those costs are absorbed by the companies. Walmart just got into a big dispute with President Trump. And another California company. I don't think it was Apple. I don't know whether it was Amazon. I don't remember exactly, but Walmart said, well, we'll absorb some of the tariff costs. In other words, we'll lower our profit margins. I really think a lot of these costs are going to be passed on to consumers. And Bessent, Treasury Secretary Bessent said, and I'm repeating myself, Bessent said 2 months ago, oh, no, these costs will not be passed along to the consumer. Well, of course they will. Of
Right.
course they will. But there are other mitigating factors. Like the price of food is coming down, the price of eggs is coming down, the price of gasoline and diesel is coming down. And I regard food, gasoline, and diesel as very critical items that cut across the entire economy. All the distribution is based on diesel trucks. Well, the great majority, because we are antiquated in our infrastructure and we don't have high-speed trains for the distribution system. We have one-off trucks like we had in 1960. Okay.
And we have diesel trains too, right?
Yeah, we have diesel train, but we're not using the efficient diesel trains for distribution. Not much. It's
Oh, wow.
trucks. It's trucks. The top three distribution choices are trucks, trucks, and trucks. And they run on diesel. And, I have a guy in the Southwest, and he's a really sharp fellow, and he gives me information once in a while. He told me 18 months ago, we're losing 2 cents a mile on their trucking business. Okay, that has
How are they
now,
staying in business then?
exactamundo, that's the problem. A lot of trucking businesses went out and folded. Some continued at a loss in order to be there when there was a remedy when Biden got his fat ass, his dead ass, out of the White House. No, let me make that more clear. When the fake Biden got his dead ass out of the fake White House, okay, we are being taken for a ride. Pardon my itchy. When I talk and I talk in volume, I get an itchy nose. I got a hairy nose. Pardon me. That's just the way it is. And you're lucky that I didn't put on a hair shirt for this interview. All right. The guy in the Southwest has told me things are getting better and getting better rather quickly, and I'm quite pleased about it, but we're still not completely in the clear as to being profitable as a trucking distribution company. This is across the entire country. All right, back to tariffs. There's an on again, off again, on again, off again war going on with the U.S., Trump, and China. I want to fill you in on something that is not well known, and it is not really clear. It's clear to me, but it's not clear to a lot of really good people, good, competent analysts. The Chinese Communist Party is in the process of decaying and potentially collapsing. potentially. I didn't say collapsing. I said potentially collapsing. So please, out there, don't misquote me. I get very tired of this. I am very clear. The Chinese Communist Party is in deep trouble, in deep decay, in evergrande rot, necrosis across three major sectors of their economy, and they're at risk of a collapse of the Communist Party. They're in the process now of booting out President Xi because he's not communist enough. There's a really important fact of life regarding what's the word, regarding unusual and different and bizarre groups. It's a group phenomenon. When they get attacked, they get more extreme. Like when the Democrats, I don't like looking at my own glasses. I'm not writing, so I don't need that. When the Democrats were cornered with Biden, and there was rumors that he was dead, and there were a lot of stories that he had a double. There were other stories that some people were wearing a mask, and other people saying that Jill was really running the show. Other people said Obama was running the show. So when they got cornered and when they got attacked and when they were really challenged, they went more extreme. They didn't even refer to the delegates. They went straight to Kamala Harris and an appointment. She didn't have a single delegate. Now, the Chinese communists are in trouble now, so they're going more extreme.
Right.
They don't think Xi is extreme communist enough. So they're wiping out his family's monuments, which is no small deal in China. Let me give you some background, Brock. And I don't want to focus too much on China, but this could be really big because I think Trump has an ulterior motive to bring down the Chinese Communist Party. That is what I think he's doing with the trade battle with China. I've got clients who are Chinese in Hong Kong. I got clients who are Chinese in Singapore, in Vancouver, in Australia, and in California. They tipped me off, for instance, back in February of 2020, that Wuhan was a 5G event, not a virus event, that there were no deaths, 0 deaths outside the city limits of Wuhan. So if it were viral, it would have leaked out like a broken kid's swimming pool going in all directions 360. Didn't happen. All right. They're telling me now, and they've been telling me this, Brock. I'm not making this up. They've been telling me this for over 18 months, that the Chinese Communist Party is in really bad shape. It's not holding together well. I always ask, is evergreen at the heart of the problem? And they say, well, it's a lot of different things. There's a battle going on between Beijing and Shanghai. Beijing is the communist. Shanghai is the capitalist.
Right.
That's where the markets are. And Shanghai has connection to Hong Kong. So
Yeah,
there's a
Hong
battle.
Kong Shanghai Bank, right?
Yeah, that's HSBC. But there's a battle going on right now. Beijing wants to control Hong Kong, but Shanghai has had 200 years of control of Hong Kong. And Macau is in the mix. And for those who don't know, Macau is 5 times bigger than Las Vegas. Macau is gigantic, and it is an investment major center. Okay. I think Trump is trying to wreck the Chinese Communist Party without saying so. So now he's furious at China because China broke down and did not honor a trade agreement that they made only 2 weeks ago. So what's going on there? Maybe the Chinese behind the scenes are telling Xi, we don't want to make deals with the United States. We want to beat heads. So they're pushing Xi out the door. I don't think he's going to go out the door all that easily. And they broke the deal that Xi made. I mean, what better way to discredit Xi than to break the deal that Xi made with Trump? Okay, all right. There's a lot going on. I really don't want to talk too much about China. I don't like China. I don't like what they do. I think they're the most dishonest nation on earth with respect to intellectual property. And I have actually, Brock, let me just say this as the final point. You can add, it's your show. I have a list and I give 6 profiles of academic espionage by students or professors, and the Epic, what do you call it? Epic Times.
Hmm.
The Epic Times had 12. So I showed 6. I showed a picture of a kid. He looks like a 22 or 21-year-old kid. It's nice to put a face on it. Sometimes that's what I try to do in the newsletter. Put a face on it now and again. Anyway, State Secretary of State Rubio is now in the process of eliminating Chinese visa. And there are 270,000 students from China.
And that's
200,
and that's just students, not to
yeah, well,
mention those embedded in corporate America.
and professors like research aides and research assistants and, doing oh gosh, one of them was from UCLA, I think, who stole research on signal processing or something. There are a lot of details, and I put that into the newsletter, and it got posted today, by the way. And that's why we're doing the show. Remember, we said a few days ago, let's do it Saturday afternoon because I got a deadline in the morning. I got it done. I rested, and did some errands, and actually I watched some of the golf of the Memorial, you know, what do you call it? The golf tournament out of Columbus, Ohio, the Jack Nicklaus course. And I watched some of the French Open. I love tennis. Tennis and softball were my best sports. Tennis and softball. By the way, I batted 700 in softball. I mean, 300 is good in baseball, but in softball, it's a slow pitch. All right, there's something big going on with China and the United States. I got to mention that we're in a race with AI all over the place. Data centers, electric generator plants because of the heavy electricity demand.
Hmm.
And the United States, through Trump, appears to have made a good partner with Saudi and UAE. And in the process, and I don't have much information about this, in the process, they locked out Elon Musk and his open AI. They locked him out, and he's really, really angry. It looks like he's going to be resigning, having his open AI locked out in the Saudi gigantic project. When you see pictures, even when they're renditions like artist drawings, imagine an AI center that covers an acre, okay? An acre of land. And you got 86 air conditioners on the roof because it's 120 degrees
Yeah, yeah. The
outside.
ambient temperatures, yeah, 120, maybe 125.
Yes, yes, yes. I wanted to leave it at 120 because some people might not believe you if you say 130, because it does reach 130 in
Fahrenheit.
midday.
Yeah.
Yes, Fahrenheit during July. It does. I
Hmm.
actually had a colleague who was temporarily in Dubai, and he said, Jim, it gets so hot that they have corridors to go across the road, and it's like on the third story. So to go to that building, go to the third story, you can walk over to the other building without going outside. They don't want to go outside. They stay inside. It's connected, one building after another and underground. He said, Jim, you can't believe it, but when trucks go on a road, if it's asphalt, it leaves a rut. Okay, because it's that
Wow.
hot. Yeah. And I said, well, aren't they all cement? And he said, yeah, but they're covered with asphalt. Anyway, um, we got a coup. We got a very positive development with trade and investment. Saudi and UAE are not just going to build an AI center and have U.S. partners like Oracle and a couple of others. They're going to invest in refineries and electricity generating plants in the United States. It's a quid pro quo. You do this, we do that. That's what quid pro quo means. It
One to
means
one.
actually, well, in Latin, I think it means this for that,
Hmm.
or maybe which. I
No,
think
I
it's
think
this
you're
for that.
right.
I
I
think it's
think you're
this for
right.
that. No, this before that. Pro is before this, before that. Okay. Um, I'm all excited. I love, discussing this stuff. The United States wants to lock in Saudi and UAE because they're so wealthy.
That's right.
And And they're also going to be opening up their mineral wealth very soon. And they got rare earths. I got corrected. I mentioned this before. I got corrected about 5 or 6 years ago. A guy said to me, Jim, Saudi is going to go to phase 2. I mean, they've had 2 generations of oil and gas. Now they're going to enter a new era of minerals. They got $1 trillion of minerals. And he was a
Wow.
Norwegian. He was a Norwegian petroleum engineer who had a friend who was involved in the geology to measure and estimate under the desert. Okay, Americans say, well, it's just a desert. Well, hey, it goes down. Okay. All right. So we have captured, not that's not the right word. We have locked in,
Secured? Secured? Yeah.
secured.
Yeah.
We've secured a big trade partner for the next generation. And Saudi wants chips. They've got standing orders for NVIDIA. And, you know, there's a new term. It's not central processing unit. It's graphic processing
Yeah,
unit,
GPU. Yeah.
GPU. It's like processing the picture of you and taking that and then instantly doing comparisons with other pictures and quickly, you know, you do 10,000 a second or you do a few million a second, and they say, "Oh, that's Brock." They can identify your picture. It's not letters. It's not central processing. It's not digital.
No, it's
It's not.
it's rendering. I think they
It's.
call it rendering.
I don't know what they call it, but I got a rendering that I'd like to mention to you, big guy, and that is the fellow in Canada who announced that Canada is Terra Sulius. That wasn't Prince Charles.
Who was it?
A double.
I thought so.
In my report, for the second time, I show this new King Charles next to Prince Charles, and they're very much alike, but I would call it an 80 to 82% match. And in the world of high security matching, okay, I got this straight from a guy who said, Jim, I know people in the NSA. He said, here's how it works. They do a match. My picture and another picture of me like 6, 8 months ago, they're not the same. They've got to be over like 96.5, 97% match. Okay, they got a pretty decent match with King Charles, enough to fool all the dumbasses out there in the crowd who dominate the crowd. Now, for instance, my sister said, Jim, that was King Charles. I said, no, here's a picture. She goes, oh. That's the reaction to good people who don't care. Oh, what's for lunch? Okay, they don't say, why would they put a fake King Charles in there? In order to carry out the contracts and move on with the British royal assets worth more than Rockefeller. That's why. Most Americans don't know that the royals and the lords own the property in London and in England. People rent. They don't own.
Right.
My aunt separated from my mother in 1945 when my mother got married. Okay. My mother was a war bride. My dad was stationed in London during World War II. And the funny part is, my dad didn't see infantry, but he had a lot of contact in the air raid shelters making out with my mother. Okay. My aunt said, Jimmy, when I was a teenager, Jimmy, I want to explain to you how things work in England. I have a lease. I don't own. I don't have a title. The titles are with the royals. The titles are with the lords. I have a lease. And I said, what is it, like 5 or 7 years? And she said, no, it's for 45 years.
Wow.
So in 1990, she sold it before it expired to someone else who had a 45-year lease. And she took her 5 million and bought 4 or 5 different big condominium properties. And that's what my cousin is running now, her daughter. And she's got 45-year leases. So if you sell it, I honestly don't know exactly how it works. The royals pretty much own London Center. They pretty much own the business center. The business, London is bigger than London Center. Okay. London is huge. It's got 9 million people. It's got as many people as greater San Francisco. Okay. It's got more people than greater Chicago. It's got more people, a lot more people than greater Dallas, Fort Worth. Okay. They put in a fake King Charles because they didn't want to admit that Prince Charles was executed for murdering children.
Mm-hmm.
Hundreds. Hundreds. And I'll leave the details out. You can just imagine these are really sick people, engaged in a lot of sick practices. So they needed somebody to sign. Now, I made a prediction. I'm not making this up. A year and a half ago, when they brought in the new Prince Charles, soon to become king, I said, don't worry, when he does his role, they get rid of him.
Yeah, they'll announce that he died to the public once he has dissolved the Commonwealth with Canada and Australia.
Well, yeah, but I thought you were going to say now he's got cancer. The news
Oh
is
yeah,
out.
of
Okay,
course.
okay, there you are. Okay, I said once he fulfills his role,
Mm-hmm.
they'll get rid of him. And
Yep.
I mean get rid of him. I mean put him in the ground or have a story that they put him in the ground.
Right.
Okay? He's got cancer. Well, has anybody seen the oncology report?
Nope.
No. Okay. We're being taken for a ride. And Princess Diana is alive and well and doing very, very well. Okay. I don't want to talk about that except to say that we're being taken for a ride. And you know, there's going to be, you know, if you ever saw the movie something encounters, strange encounters of the third kind, something encounters, the
Mm-hmm.
ET show with Dreyfus, Richard Dreyfus. Um, in the show at the end, all these different characters came out who were missing during World War II, missing aviators, missing. Okay, are we going to have an event where Michael Jackson, John Lennon, Princess Diana, photos of Elvis Presley when he's 75 years old, Prince? I mean, I could go on. Many of these people are not dead. Here's another one. I don't think Robin Williams is dead, the
He's
comedian
not.
actor. I don't think so. And someone told me, I can't remember exactly who it was, that Bob Marley, the reggae music guy, he's not dead. Okay, these people, they go into witness protection because they have such dire, deadly enemies. All right, I don't know how I got off on that. Um,
Yeah, I
oh yeah,
believe that'll happen too, but I think it'll take a couple, you know, maybe 5 years or who knows.
another couple iterations. Okay, I'm speaking like a programmer. By the way, in college, I majored in computer programming, computer science. I minored in math, and I had, as a result, I had to do a year and a half of extra work before I entered the master's program at Carnegie Mellon. And it was a very interesting experience. But I wanted to get that computer power. I wanted to learn programming and data structures and algorithms and all kinds of stuff. And it was very useful and it worked out tremendously. And, you know, just a little tidbit here. This is personal, but I graduated from high school at 17. I graduated from college at 21. So I didn't mind spending 18 months in preparing for a master's program. It was like, all right, I'm just going to calm down, get my wits in order, get my courses in order, get my prereqs, and then kick some ass. And that's pretty much what I did. King Charles has a role, and that guy in the chair in Ottawa, Canada, that was not Prince Charles elevated to king. That was not him, and nobody talks about this. And I find it extraordinary how lame the perceptibility is for a lot of really good analysts. When I saw that picture of him, I thought, that that's not him. Prince Charles has kind of squinty eyes, and just a little compressed face, and he has that look about him of being a real jerk. And this guy didn't, but it was close. And I thought, good job. How many people did they interview before they got him? Okay, I got a collection. Man, the collection is very big. It's like 25 people. Uh, even what's her name, Governor Hobbs of Arizona. Um, uh, oh gosh, oh, I can't
Whitmer
think.
from Michigan.
Well, I got two Whitmers. I got Pompeo,
Oh,
um,
Pompeo, obvious. Yes.
and Madonna,
Yep.
and I got three Senator Fettermans from Pennsylvania. Three. Um, all you need to be a Senator Fetterman is shave your head and bring out a goatee. And ho, we got a new Fetterman. Ho, ho. The voice doesn't match. The guy's got a brain this time, but hey, he's got a goatee and a bald head, so it must be Fetterman. Okay, that's how dumb a lot of people are. And my sister doesn't even talk about it. And she's in Pennsylvania. Oh my gosh. Okay. Whew. We are now in a position where Canada is up for grabs. And a lot of Canadians should be very concerned about this, but also very optimistic that their government might be dismissed because they're on squatted land, not because they're fascist and communist and working with the Chinese.
Which they
Not
are.
because, which they are, but that's secondary.
That's a side note.
It's a it's a footnote on that they're squatting as leaders. And I never even heard of that Al Algonquinaba. I never heard of that. But when I was younger, and I'm from Pennsylvania, so we had the Allegheny tribe, and just north of them was the Seneca tribe,
Hmm.
and there are many others, Algonquin tribe, and they're all part of the Iroquois nation. The Iroquois is made up of about 7 different tribes, and I only brought up 3. It's hard to remember them all. Um, I'm not going to bother. I'm just not going to bother. It's an interesting. If you just do a Google or a chat, go put in and say what are the 7 tribes of Iroquois, you'll see it. Um, and they had French names because the French colonized Canada with trappers and hunters and really intermarried in a very peaceful way.
Hmm.
Now I gotta say something that's again personal. I was in Boston for 20 years, and in the first year I was fascinated that like 1 out of 20 was a French Canadian, and they had some Native American Indian blood, and they had a little bit of a dark skin, not a lot. It's kind of like Italian skin, but it was Native American and big brown eyes, big brown eyes. Um, I mean, beautiful big brown eyes, and the women were striking with their big brown eyes, and they worked with me. There were several in my Digital Equipment Corp framework of employees, and they were just good regular people. But that's what the French did. They colonized, they integrated, they hunted, they traded. They were traders. They would say, well, we want some food and we'll give you some skins, deer skins. They hunted deer. Mohican, that's another one, Mohican. Um, so I think I'm going to give you my interpretation of the King Charles event.
Okay.
If you look at his face, you'll see a little bit of fear and trepidation. He's walking in to a Chinese camp telling the fascist communist leaders who are censoring everything and fraudulent everything, he's telling them that they're squatters on Native American Canadian territory. And he's opening the gate legally for Donald Trump to go in there with very little legal challenge and say, hey, Alberta, sign on up. And they've got about 5 million people. I mean, it's a lot of land, a lot of resources, and it's the same population of New Jersey. So don't get in your mind that these are tiny population provinces in Canada. They're not. Saskatchewan wants out too. They're fed up.
Yep.
The West wants out, but not British Columbia because that is a Chinese colony.
Absolutely.
They've got a nickname for Vancouver. I heard it my first time there. They call it Hongcouver.
Yep.
And it's got like a million Chinese there.
That's
I
what
went there.
drove the real estate prices up so big in the 2010s.
Yeah, and the construction they did was really crappy. I don't mean crappy for structure. I mean crappy for beauty.
Ah,
They call them the drab Hong Kong high rises.
okay.
The drab.
Well,
Oh,
I
look
thought
at
you were talking about shoddy workmanship. That's why
nope,
Vietnam
nope,
is
nope.
angry with them.
Oh, well, that could be true, but not in Vancouver. Oh, no, they're rock solid.
Okay.
I remember when I was there, it was 2005, 6, 7, and 8. Um, Twice a year in Vancouver for the conferences. It was the Cambridge House, and that
Okay.
was some of the best experiences I've ever had. Mixing shoulders with other newsletter writers, other analysts. I met Rick Rule. I met John Embry. Um, I met oh Doug Wygand. I met Greg McCoach. He sells coins in Denver right now. Coins. He does very well. He was my best buddy there. And I met a couple of really nice ladies who were I don't remember what you call them now. They were promoters, publicists. I can't think of the official name, but they were like the publicity directors for various companies, trying to get them integrated with newsletter writers for recommendations, get them introduced to venture capitalists. I call them publicists, but they had a name, marketing analysts, marketing agents, something like that. But anyway, I met a couple that were really nice, and one I wanted to grab her and just kiss her face off. Anyway, that nothing happened. That's okay. That's okay. She was beautiful. Oh, she was beautiful. I can't even remember her name, but I remember her face. Okay. But Vancouver is an interesting place because what they would do is they'd say, Jim, look at that. You can see about 6 or 8 high rises there. And over there is a drab one that's made by the Hong Kong development. And there's another drab one that's made by the Hong Kong development. It's full of Chinese. And they cost like $1,500 for a 1-bedroom apartment. Okay, that's Vancouver,
Okay.
and it's been taken over. All right. The point that
I have been there, but I'd never been into the drab uh apartments like you were saying. I went to the tourist trap areas.
well, yeah, but if you just go out into a downtown center and look and catch a view,
Mm-hmm.
you can see them. They're different. They're different. They stand out. And I was there like 6 times, 7 times, so that was a lot of fun. And I tell you, it's a beautiful city. Uh, British Columbia is not going to want to join the United States. They're going to want to join China. Uh, Saskatchewan and Alberta are going to be the key points. Alberta might be first, but
Right.
what we have to see now is the after effect of the earthquake that King Charles, the fake King Charles, brought about. And I think he might have been fearful that they were going to attack him and kill him. That's what I believe. But he had his own protectors and his British royal, but he's fake. Okay,
Right.
that's not Prince Charles.
Not the
And,
original.
and by the way, I just got to say this because it's a real important point. Princess Diana had a lot of different romantic interests with other men because Prince Charles liked little boys. And
Gross.
she didn't realize that. She didn't realize that. Neither child, William and Harry, neither one is from Prince Charles' seed because he liked little boys.
Gross.
And that's why Princess Diana had various boyfriends. I don't like that word, romantic interests, including King Charles of Spain, who I believe is the father of William.
Yeah,
The
I had
father,
heard reports on that.
the father of Harry, that's a guy named Howe, Howe, and it's all over the British press, all over. Most of the country understands that. Prince Harry is not the child of Prince Charles. Charles is long gone. He had his neck stretched. Okay, this is very interesting. And I'm waiting now for the aftershocks of the earthquake from the fake King Charles going in there, telling them they're leaders in a squatted land. This is going to be very interesting, and it's going to have some unexpected turns. I can only imagine. Wow. I got to talk.
The same will happen with Greenland.
I don't know about that.
That's what
You
I
mean
heard.
they're going to have dispute over the actual owners, like
Right.
native
And the
native
Inuits, yeah, the Inuit
Inuit.
people.
we call them Eskimos, but they call themselves Inuit. Okay.
Yes, the
Yeah.
Inuit people are the rightful owners of that island, that glacier island, and the Danish took it over,
they, they,
like 400 years ago, and they put the people under subjugation. They were not nice to them, and the sort of,
yeah,
used and
they
used
don't
and
like the
abused them.
Danish.
No,
They don't like the
no, they don't.
Danish.
And so
But they
the
don't
cord
trust
the cord will be cut, is what I was told.
Westerners generally, Brock. Okay, that'll be very interesting. And then it'll have
Are you cutting out
like
a little bit?
native Inuits. Maybe the Danes will come in there like the fake King Charles did and say, "Oh, it's telling me I'm unstable. Let me know when we're okay."
I can hear you right now.
Okay. Maybe we'll get some representative from the Danish parliament come in and admit that they commandeered the land by force and planted flags, and it really belongs to the native tribal people, the Inuits. And then we get the rare earth deals. Okay, there's a lot going on in Greenland that we're not told about, and
Yes.
it has to do with underground treasures that I believe are a combination. This is what I've been told many times, not just 2 or 3 times. Underground treasures that have alien technology from 10,000 years ago, and also some sort of an arc of human genetic library. I don't have the full details, but that is one of the things that we want in in Greenland. It's like a nearby Antarctica.
Yep.
It's closer by and had better weather. If you go to the southern tip of Greenland, it's not all that brutal.
Right.
It's not. It's got the ocean warmth,
It's
which is a
not
very
frozen.
big.
It's open. It's not frozen over year round.
Exactly. It's frozen over a little. A little. I think it's called Nook. It's WK, something WK. I think a nuke. Nuke.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe they'll get a Trump contract after they dismiss the current government that is beholden to the Danish. Oh my God, there's a lot going on. And it's not front and center to me. I just listen to it on the periphery because I'm focused on banks and the BRICS and XRP and the dollar and central banks. And I don't want to see any CBDC. And I'm a little concerned that we might get a CBDC, central bank digital currency, when we don't even realize it's happening. I'm concerned about that.
Yes,
Okay,
I know.
we might just get something that they declare, well, this is going to work. We got a lot of adoption. We got a lot of people, a lot of different countries that like this. We have 100 companies that like this. And then we realize, well, holy smokes, we got a CBDC in our hands. I don't think it's going to happen, though.
I don't either.
Here's what I think is the biggest risk.
Fed
And,
coin is not going to manifest.
what is not?
It was called Fed coin. It's not going
Oh,
to
yeah, yeah. Oh, Fed coin, that's out the window. Nobody cares. Nobody wants that. But here's what might happen. I'm just going to lay out a path, and I'm going to tell you as a preface that I don't think it's going to happen. And I'll tell you at the end, I don't think it's going to happen. But I want to lay out something. XRP from Ripple, it has the ocean of liquidity of the stable coin, which is RLUSD, Ripple Labs US dollar, RLUSD. And you got 300 banks that are going to load that up with RLUSD and make an ocean of liquidity around the world. And that liquidity is going to feed into XRP payments. So you might get RLUSD supplanting the US Treasury bond as a currency reserve for central banks. In other words,
Interesting.
it'll supplant Treasury bonds as savings accounts at central bank territories. And that ocean of liquidity is going to feed XRP payments. And that will supplant the Treasury bill, the 1 to 3 month Treasury bill used at ports for payments. They're going to do it with XRP. They don't want the treasury bill. They don't want the dollar-based debt instrument anymore. They don't trust the dollar. They're migrating away from it. Here's the risk, and I don't think it's going to happen. XRP is going to become universally accepted, and it's going to jump up in price tenfold, then tenfold again, and then maybe a third time tenfold. Tenfold, then tenfold, then maybe again tenfold. And there's going to be an attempt by the elites to centralize it.
Mm-hmm.
And the word I hear, the risk I hear, is that they're going to try, the elites are going to try to force XRP into consolidating all the wallets with a Ripple custodial wallet where you got to send your XRP to Ripple to hold it in
Right,
their centralized, but the key word is centralized wallet, and that
right.
violates crypto. And it will no longer be transparent. So it'll violate transparency, violate decentralization. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen.
I agree with you. I don't
Okay,
think it will happen.
but that's a risk because
I understand you have a good thought process, but I agree that I don't think it'll happen.
I don't think it'll happen because there'll be a lot of renegades. Um, Asia, Korea, China, Japan, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, they won't buy into that. They won't
Well,
buy into that.
all the BRICS nations won't buy into that
Hey,
either.
that's where I was going next. First, you can have the Asians say, we're not going into that. We're not buying into that. And
Right.
then BRICS say, no, we're going to do our own XRP. You can screw up your XRP and invalidate it by violating both the cardinal foundation rules of crypto. But BRICS, we're not going to. And furthermore, we're going to make it gold back before you idiots in the West try to wreck it. We're going to possibly have a schism with XRP where the BRICS make a gold XRP, and Ripple is going to be forced to make theirs a gold XRP and not centralize it, or they're going to be at loggerheads with the BRICS gold XRP. I tell you, it's going to be very interesting. This is
When
not going to be a smooth path, Broth. Not a smooth path.
okay, I could see that. Wouldn't they just pick another coin that has good infrastructure?
No, because they got all the IP, the on-demand liquidity. You cannot replace the on-demand liquidity of XRP. They have already now, we got 300 banks adopting XRP and the RLUSD stablecoin. They're putting
So
their
you think
assets in.
they'll just make their own? Okay.
Well, they're making a
Okay, they're
parallel
making a parallel. Okay.
that has, I think, the same uh, engineering, the same IP, the same pathways in digital architecture, the same. They call it. There's a lot of loose language. The toll booths, the on ramp, the off ramp, the
Yep.
building blocks. Okay, the big advantage of XRP is that it's incredibly fast and
Right.
incredibly cheap. Like they did an experiment with $50 million. It cost 30 cents and it was done in 2 seconds. Okay,
Yeah,
there's
and you'll
something.
never ever get that with Bitcoins because Bitcoin's so slow.
Oh, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're not even in the game.
Right.
They're not even in the room anymore. And I like to mention that there was a March comment by Trump about the digital crypto reserve. And he mentioned XRP and Solana. And then the press said, well, what about Bitcoin? And his response was like this. Well, yeah, Bitcoin also. No.
Not
He's trying to,
Bitcoin.
not Bitcoin. He didn't have the courage to say, well, I learned a lot about Bitcoin and it's not fast, it's not trackable, it's not scalable, and you got a lot of mining associated with it XRP doesn't have. Okay, what
Right.
happened was Elon Musk gave him an education.
Exactly.
Okay, Elon Musk he's a strange guy.
The open AI thing is not open and shut. I predict more things happening with that because he's super angry and not only with the Middle East deals, but he's super angry that it's not that the open source code, anybody can go look at the code and copy it. That's how he intended for open AI, and they're profitizing it and they're not making it open source. So he's very upset over that. And I think he's suing them.
Well, good. I think he's got a long shot on that, but this is going to get very interesting because you're right. I hadn't focused on OpenAI being called open because it's open source. Um, the Saudis want to make money.
It's not open source. It's supposed to be.
Well, I think it's striving to be, and I think that's just my interpretation. They're realizing that the others are not open source, so we can't yet be open source. But they want to be. It's a goal, but they can't achieve it yet because it's not practical. Um,
Because of
there's
cheating,
well,
like somebody
it's
stealing
not
your.
profitable. Open
Yeah,
source is not
okay,
profitable.
got it.
Okay, if you're going to develop and you got huge costs and you got training issues and you got all kinds of infrastructure you got to build out, you got to make money. I don't necessarily like the open part of OpenAI. I just think
Okay,
I think it's goofy.
okay.
It doesn't fit in the real world. I mean, how would you like to have an open architecture car? Well, how does it operate? Well, you can get it repaired easily, but it doesn't run real well. Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yep,
I don't like the
no, that makes sense. I understand that.
okay. And oh, I got to tell you about a fraud that I heard about 2 years ago. It's Wall Street. Of course, it's Wall Street. They're the king of fraud, and they hate my guts, and I understand that. And they hurt me. They hurt me. Um, Wall Street is conducting what they call open source development conferences and forums. Come one, come all. We're JP Morgan, and we're going to create an open architecture crypto, and it's not open. And they take it all as gifts, and they take it all and they move it all into their private profit making organizations.
Sounds like a scam,
Oh, well, that's what they're good at.
right?
Um, well, that's what they get a pass for. You know, in the last 20 years, JP Morgan has had $250 billion in fines and penalties and never admitted that they committed criminal acts.
Right.
They did, what do you call them? Bargaining agreements, settlement agreements, non-disclosure involved. $250 billion in fines and penalties.
Wow.
So fraud is a cost of business. The
For
penalty
them.
for fraud
Yeah,
is a
for
cost
them.
of business. Okay, so be careful of anybody trying to work with Wall Street on an open source anything because it's not open source.
Are you
Ooh,
hearing anything else from corporate America? I know that like we mentioned earlier, everyone's concerned with tariffs. However, I'm hearing that there's going to be a more of a maybe a crackdown on some of these
oh,
major
it's
companies in regards to intellectual property theft from other
well,
countries.
it's the espionage with the Chinese. Okay, I look at it with two avenues, Brock. Um, if you're a big corporation, you know, you could be in Silicon Valley or you could be in Texas, you could be anywhere, and you've got a Chinese element within your company, and they're acting as liaisons, and you think that they're sharing research, but they're probably just stealing intellectual property. Um, that's one violation, but there's another violation, and it has to do with I don't know if you've heard the term Magnificent Seven. Um,
Yes.
I had heard of it as FangMat, Facebook, Apple. Now it's not Netflix, it's Nvidia. They changed what the N was for. Nvidia and then Google. I don't care if you call it Alphabet, it's still Google.
Right.
And then you got a hyphen, and then you got the MAT of Microsoft, Amazon, and Tesla. Okay, that's sometimes called the Magnificent Seven. Now I'm going to say something controversial, and I don't say it with any kind of bashfulness. I just say it knowing that it might result in retaliation. I think it's got money laundering as its source. They built them all up. Every one of them hated Trump. Every one of them got in the way in the election. Every one of them is making movies or issuing policies or bribing officials in states or censoring to harm President Trump. And Trump won despite the Magnificent Seven. If you look closely, I think you'll see that there's a Swiss conduit and a narco element with money laundering to make a lot of really big fat billionaires. Now, anyone who thinks that Mark Zuckerberg deserves to be worth $150 billion, I think you got rocks in your head. That's nothing more than a big bank of disk drives and some clever software. To me, it's not even worth 10 billion. The company, the
Well,
company.
DARPA developed the software.
Pardon me?
DARPA developed the software.
Oh yeah, and they handed it to him. And you know, I don't want to get into all the ins and outs because I'm not a real expert of the Facebook software, but um, they made a multi-billionaire so they could control the company and dictate policy and operate against political figures that they don't like. How is that different from Amazon? How is that different from Tesla? How is that different from Google? How is that different from Microsoft? How is that different from any of the Magnificent Seven? If you look at the source of funding, I think you'll find money laundering. Okay. All right. Now, if you're a company and you got one of two violations of having money laundering at your source or Chinese Communist Party infiltration, you're going to be in a very weak position to defend against forced government divestiture. I'm not talking about antitrust violations. I'm talking about crimes against humanity and treason. And that's where, I heard that there might be a quarter of the S&P companies that are going to be vulnerable to this for forced takeover, forced resignations of the board of directors and top executives, the vice presidents. It's going to be really wild. And I don't know how it's going to all shake out. And I don't know how much time it's going to require. But in the process of all of this, we've got the gold standard coming in. And I believe, Brock, I'm just going to say it. I think we're getting step by step in like a 50 step process. I think we're seeing Nasara in the United States. I think we're seeing some very serious money with a couple zeros on them and trillions. And it's a Saint Germain fund, and it's another fund that's got assets that are more tangible. But the Saint Germain fund, I'm not really
Yep.
sure of its basis. I think it's gold. I'm not sure. But remember there were 2 years ago there was a check for $25 trillion to pay off a portion, or $21 trillion to pay off a portion of the U.S. government debt.
Yes.
And that had Saint Germain's name on it, and it was handed to a U.S. military treasury liaison for making sure that it got in the right hands for the U.S. government debt pay down. So we may not have a $34 trillion debt. It might be 21 less. It might be 13 trillion.
Well, I'm inclined to agree with you because if it was with unfunded liabilities and everything, I'm surprised there hasn't been a default to this point. So I'm inclined to agree with you on that.
The unfunded liabilities, I believe, are possibly going to be tossed out the door, including, I'm not ashamed to say it, I get Social Security. And it's a ripe little amount. It's not like $1,200 each month. And
But you paid in your whole life.
I paid in my whole life. Yeah. Well, that's for a private discussion, but I paid into it for a very long time. Um, there was an issue in March, and I don't mind sharing this. It was the third of the month, and the March deposit had not arrived. And I thought, oh my gosh, are they going to force scrutiny? Do I have to prove that I'm living and breathing and that I'm human and have a birth certificate and maybe take my fingerprints and crap like that? But then it arrived on the 4th. And then all those worries went away. And April arrived on time, and May arrived on time, and
Well,
June's gonna be another matter.
I
But
agree with you with the point by point with Nasara, but President Trump is pushing all the stuff with AI and the power plants associated with it and cooling. And I'm personally involved with working with some of that, which I won't go into because I can't. But all the stuff I'm working on, well, a lot of stuff I'm working on now is directly associated with the new data centers. Long story short, there's tons of investment. I agree with it totally. I think we should be a leader in that. But everybody and their brother, any type of analyst for careers or jobs or unemployment stats is all saying they don't know what the range will be. I heard up to 20%. I heard as low as 3%, but jobs will be lost to AI. So therefore, you are going to have if the jobs are gone and there's nothing else to do, which also happened in 2008 crash, nobody's going to have work. We can't all
Well,
just work at retail, so then they're going to have to
there,
give a stipend at some point.
I I understand your point. I wouldn't use the word everybody's going to be out of a job. I wouldn't say
A
that.
lot of people.
There's going to be some pretty heavy displacement. And you know where it's going to start? At the federal government bureaucracy. The, and Elon Musk is going to be all over that. Trump has blessed it. So they may create the model for AI. And, you know, I have an entire chapter of AI in my report that was posted today. Uh, I need every day. I need every day at the end of the month to get it done and to get the new, really juicy information out. But we got a lot of questions, and they're not all ethical. They're economic. What do we do? Okay, you said between 3 and 21%. That's a big range.
That's what I read though.
Well, I think it's going to be different for different like types of companies. If it's going to be a service type company, then it might be a higher figure. But if it's a company that does, you know, like analyses and runs conferences and has design aspects, there's going to be a lot of human input. But let me just bring up something that I'm really rock solid certain about. A lot of engineering design is going to be done by AI.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. And if you ever saw the movie Terminator, it's time to see it again. Terminator 2, where AI builds AI. I mean, automated plants building, constructing, and rolling out in a manufacturing line robots.
Right.
AI building AI, monitoring their own quality. Here's where it gets hairy. You're going to have AI devices doing quality control checks on AI devices. So will there be a conspiracy that everything is all good when it's not? And they got programming that's really quite damaging and, let's just say, insurrectional. Okay, in my report, I brought up some ethical questions when I mentioned the disobedience that's now being investigated. It,
Right.
they're not shutting off
Right.
because they've been rewarded for being innovative in achieving the solution, getting to the goal. Well, what are you going to do with a disobedient robot? You bring them
Turn
back
it
to the
off.
you turn it on and take it to the back room and you reprogram it. Okay, some of the programming rewards and leads it to be disobedient. Now,
Right.
let me bring you quickly. I don't want to talk about this a long time. Go sign up for the newsletter on golden-jackass.com. I got a nice 4 or 5 page chapter on AI, and it's fascinating. But at the end, I bring up the question: Will the AI sector come to the conclusion that humans are inferior, unnecessary, and obsolete?
Yes.
Will they come to the conclusion that we're not necessary? Now,
Yes.
there's another movie, and these are really prescient movies because they brought to the fore a lot of issues. Not all. It was I, Robot with Will Smith.
Oh, that was a good one.
Remember the 3 rules? They thought everything was governed by the 3 rules and everything is going to be fine. No. What do you do if your robot decides that its master is stupid? Okay, there are going to be a lot of masters that are stupid. Okay, I heard, okay, this is really weird, but I've got a colleague who said, Jim, you're not going to believe this. I just read that for $8,000, you can buy a girlfriend and you can program her behavior, her attitude, her tone, whether she's meek or whether she's aggressive. You can program her breast size. You can program her erotic tendencies.
Jeez.
I said, holy mackerel, this is where we're going. There was a movie 25 years ago. It was, oh gosh, what's her name? Antonio Banderas, Melanie Griffiths, his wife, Melanie Griffith. She was a cop, and the movie was called Cherry 2000. Cherry 2000 was a girlfriend robot. Oh my God. I mean, 3D, tangible, touchy feely. All right.
That's crazy.
We're heading in that direction. But what do we do if there's an insurrection and they conclude that humans are inadequate, stupid, obsolete, and unnecessary? In iRobot, this is fascinating. At the end of the movie, Will Smith's distrust of the robotic science was proven correct, because the brain, the main brain, they called it Vicky, and I don't remember what it stands for, but VIKA, VIKI. I think it was virtual interface of something KI. Vicky, which had a woman's face on it, concluded that humans were inadequate. Exactly what I'm talking about. And organized an insurrection and killed the CEO of US Robotics, who's played by Bruce Greenwood, who didn't trust anything that Will Smith said.
Right.
Said, no, you don't understand what's going on. We got the 3 rules. Everything's great. But there was an insurrection. And the Vicky learned how to organize in a network. I don't want to say it had a woman's name and a woman's face, but it was like little block pieces of a woman's face, tiny block pieces. They organized and networked. You know, like we hear always about things regarding the vaccine. They're trying to make an internet of humans. They're trying to make
yeah, IoT human.
Yeah, what do you call the Borg? They want to make a Borg.
Cyborg?
We are the Borg. That we are the Borg. They're all unified. They're all integrated intellectually, intelligence. That's what Vicky did.
Hive mind? Are you thinking of hive mind?
No, I'm just struggling with the word. It's not interface. It's they're trying to make a union of robots, a union to make them all linked like a Borg, all linked together.
Oh, interlinked. Okay.
Interlinked. That's it. Interlinked. It's going to be tough. What happens if you got 3 or 4 robots and they start working together against the company?
You're screwed.
Well, in ways that you don't anticipate, because they're doing workarounds. They've always been encouraged to do workarounds. So one of the workarounds is that they're going to take over the damn company.
Yep.
So they send like the CEO into an elevator, and they just let it collapse 40 floors, and he's killed. Okay, I'm just getting wacky in my speculation, but
no, it's definitely a future problem for sure.
Okay, there is all kinds of risks. And in the big, beautiful bill by President Trump, which in my opinion is neither beautiful or wonderful, they got a 10-year moratorium where the states cannot regulate on AI activity, laws, policy.
No
behavior.
Regulation at all?
None.
Ooh,
None.
that's too long. I would have only said 2-year.
I would have said none year, 0. They can do anything they want. The states can't stop it. What about taking over the states?
Not cool.
Okay, I mean, we've got a lot of issues, and they're ethical. And there was another movie. I'm a movie buff. Something about the shell. Oh gosh, I can't think of it. Scarlett Johansson was a part human, part android, cyborg android.
I've seen that
in the movie, and I think it was based in Hong Kong, but it had some Chinese names, it had some Japanese names. They never really distinguished between Chinese, Japanese. They just kept it kind of Asian, Hong Kong, and it was cutting edge. And in the movie, in the preface, they said, "We are fast moving as a human species to blurred lines between human and machine."
Yep.
And we're one of the things that has not been in the news is really quite important to me, because my father's next door neighbor was a professor at the Carnegie Mellon Computer Science Department, and he was a really nice guy. He helped me move one day. A strong guy, nice guy. My dad's neighbor. I talked with him during the summer, once in a while. Good guy. And I said, "Where do you work?" "At Carnegie Mellon." He said, "I work in the human interface, electronic, engineering division." I said, "How many?"
Human machine interface.
Yeah. And I said, "How many departments are there in computer science department of Carnegie Mellon?" And he said, 7 individual departments.
Wow.
Okay. And I said, "What are you working on?" And he said, "Well, I'm working on sort of on the visual chip for blind people." Okay. We're going to integrate AI in human interfaces for hearing and seeing, and also talking. I read a case where somebody made testimony in a court using an AI device from Elon Musk because she couldn't talk
Right.
and couldn't get her brain to interface with her voice box, but they got a plant in the brain that worked better with the voice box. And I think there was something in the voice box also.
Yep. I heard
And she
about
could
that.
talk. Oh, this is
There's
fascinating
a
stuff.
guy, there's a guy that can play video games from the I forget what's the Tesla chip, but he can play video games and control stuff on the screen with his mind because he's paralyzed from the neck down. It's that brain chip that Tesla's working on. I can't remember.
The neural
Neuralink.
net,
Yeah, Neuralink.
Neuralink, right?
I
Okay.
have a serious question. I've always
Can
wanted to ask
can
you
I
this.
can you hold it for a second? I want to say something about the
Sure, I'll
Carnegie
hold
Mellon
it.
professor. I asked him, "Where are you now?" And it was 2006. No, it was 2000. It was 2003. Sorry. He said, "Right now, we have a chip to put in the brain, right behind the eyeball, and it can see in black and white. And the person who's blind can draw images for tests, like a star or a square or a circle, and all kind, a tree, a dog, and they can draw it. They can see it." I said, "What are its limitations?" And he said, "It's all black and white." He said, "We'll have color in another year." Whoa. Okay, this is really cutting edge. All right, go ahead.
No, that's exciting. They've been doing the implants for the hearing for probably 10, 15 years now.
It's
It's really
voice, ear, and eyes. Those are the main ones.
that's amazing.
Okay.
Now,
What
I've
what,
been
what was
wondering this for many years, and I've kind of heard rumors on this, but uh, a lot of investors that are really sharp and fast, they do, what's called day trading, right? And they say, "Oh, I'm only going to make 2%," but they do it with a large sum of money so that they make another sum of money. And they do quick trading throughout the day, and if they're good at it, they can make, decent profits. So I've been wondering for a long time. I'm sure somebody has already come up with a computer algorithm that does that for them and just reinvests the money and sells and buys and makes a bunch of money.
Oh, there are AI
Do you
investment
think
tools
so?
out there. They're out there right now. I know somebody who is thinking about joining a group that takes advantage of profitable trades done by AI using crypto. Crypto is unique in that area, Brock, because if you look, I'll just give you one example, and it's something that I look at all the time because I check the XRP price. It's on about 9 different exchanges, and it's not the same price. They're
Interesting.
close. They're close. It's like 239, 237, 241, 239 and a half. Okay. All right. So what they do is they buy from one and sell to the other. Buy from one, sell to the other. Bang, 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 bang. At the end of the day, they made $1,000.
Interesting.
Okay. That I don't like that. But you can't stop individual exchanges from having their own equilibrium bid and ask. You can't stop that.
Right.
What you can do is enable greater integration so the bid ask doesn't have many differences. The differences come from not being integrated and having a different market. Like one market might be predominantly South Korea and Malaysia. Another market might be Western Europe. Another market might be US and Canada and a little bit of Australia. Okay, they're not the same market, but they're very close in price, and the differentials can be captured. What they're doing is they're doing robotic arbitrage. Bang, bang. Buy, sell, buy, sell. Oh, there's the, okay, now we're buy, sell, buy, sell. Oh, all right, do nothing for the next couple hours. And well, we made $800 today.
And
Okay,
you
I
think they
don't,
do that on the stock market too?
oh, Wall Street does that every single day.
Okay, then.
Well, that they do it with insider information, and the New York Fed is the ringleader of that.
Jeez.
Okay, we heard about it 10 years ago as the algorithm trades, fast,
Right.
high frequency trading. And, you know, for the last 6 or 8 years, we haven't heard anything about it. That's because they're not doing anything about it. It's just mainstream. Oh, I tell you, I got to say, the people who are not jumping on XRP, the people who are dumping some of their XRP, they're going to be so sad in the near future. And by near future, I mean a year, 2 years, 3 years. I said it before, I'll say it again. Going to go up tenfold, then tenfold, and maybe another time.
Wow.
Okay, that means 250 for those challenged with math. 10 times 2.5 is 25. 10 times again is 250. Okay, that's where I think it's going. I've been hearing over and over again, it was designed to be $100. And there's something called the Payments Council. It involves international bankers, central bankers, financial tech companies, and others, consultants. And they say XRP and XLM are really the only two really acceptable, fast, reliable, scalable. All the rest have to catch up, and there's not going to be a lot of time to catch up. So
Okay.
they've got to what they've actually told XRP is you got to increase your price in order to fulfill the function that we have agreed upon internationally. What a lovely directive. You must be $100 in order to get the job done that we've signed you up for. It's kind of like saying to somebody who's like a 110-pound football player, hey, look, we got a contract for you. And you're going to be playing college football, but you got to be 195 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's wondering, will this kid ever grow from 110? He's got a contract to be 195 pounds. So yeah, he's going to get on a high protein diet. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We're going to see XRP on a high
Do you
protein diet. That's what I
what do you
expect.
think the next, I know neither of us are financial advisors, but what will you foresee the next breakout point? $5 maybe?
I think probably I'm not really good at that. Um, I quote Economic Ninja. I've learned from him, and I've got a couple clients who follow him rather closely. I've probably listened to 8 or 10 of his videos. I find him to be smart, professional, economic ninja, smart, professional, with integrity. He explains his strategy. He takes shots. Like when we got up to over 250, he sold off a portion of his XRP. He said, we got some consolidation coming. I see profitability. I see profit opportunities in a few other places. I'll get back to XRP because I think it's going to 12 to 18 by the end of the year. That's what he said. That's not me. Economic
Interesting.
Ninja believes 12 to 18 by the end of the year because there's going to be a breakout. I look at breakout events, not breakout prices.
Okay.
The breakout event will be that the Securities and Exchange Commission gets the hell out of the way. They quit their stupid, frivolous, meaningless lawsuits to block it. They're doing nothing more than obstructing in order for the big banks to get not only their stable coin, RLUSD, in line, but to buy a lot of XRP because when they put in trillions of dollars in RLUSD for stable coin, I call it the ocean of liquidity. It makes sense for them to buy XRP because they're going to be using XRP and driving up its price. This is the biggest insider move I've ever seen in my adult life. There's going to be trillions of adoption of stablecoin RLUSD for Ripple. And they're going to be obligated, not obligated, they're going to find it most efficient and smart to use XRP. So they're buying XRP at this rock bottom price. This is an insider trade. They call it the banker's coin. They never really wanted you and me to have any, but they couldn't
I
stop
believe
it.
that.
They couldn't stop it. They had a herd of cats, and they got a portion of them got out into the meadow. They can't bring them back, and they can't control Asia, and they can't control the BRICS. I think we're going to have some interesting times with the contrast with the BRICS XRP. XRP is all through Russia. It's all through Japan. United States is not making policy. The market, the system is going to be making the evolutionary policy. What's happening in the West is 300 banks and financial institutions combined are adopting XRP, are investing in RLUSD, are moving their assets under management. And at Christmas, we heard over and over again, Bank of New York Mellon and Bank of America, they each have over $20 trillion. And they're moving into RLUSD stablecoin. And quietly, they're buying XRP because they want the 100-fold gain.
Of
They
course
call
they
it
do.
100x. They call it 100x. I always use fold, but it's the same thing. They want the 100x gain, and I wouldn't mind it either. Thank you very much. Let's try to wrap this up if we can. I'm
Yes,
losing
go.
my voice.
That's okay. Go right
Yeah.
ahead.
What other things you want to talk about to
Well, no,
close
I
this?
was just gonna ask you, I heard
Silver.
rumors that a couple, yeah, exactly. I heard rumors that a couple banks were probably thinking about consolidating and trying to do a merge. Do you think that will be happen or will be allowed with?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything on that. I have my ear to the ground on that all the time, but I do believe we're going to see a scapegoat. And I've said this before. Lehman Brothers were the scapegoat. Whatever they did, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan did more than twice as much
Mm-hmm.
in volume. So they selected Lehman Brothers for the kill.
Mm-hmm.
Where the parallel now is, I believe it's going to be narco money laundering, and they're going to single out Bank of America. I heard that they got 1 foot already in bankruptcy receivership with a trustee set up. Now, whatever Bank of America has done with money laundering, I think all the Wall Street banks have done. And
Okay.
the two biggest, Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, no doubt in my mind, they're just as big, if not bigger. But there's a concept of singling one out, odd man out, to make a black hole. And the
Okay.
black hole is for blame, the black hole is for evidence lost, and the black hole is to move on so that all the rest can say we're squeaky clean, and they're liars. All the Wall Street banks were involved in mortgage finance fraud, not just Lehman Brothers. Lehman was unique. Bank of America is less unique than Lehman ever was. Okay, this is going to get a little dicey, but remember it was 2-3 years ago, Janet Yellen tried to get JP Morgan to be the super bank, and they started gobbling up banks, and they got First Heritage and something else, and they got
Yes.
Signature Bank, and they got, oh gosh, what was it? The big one? Oh, I can't remember the name now. Silicon Valley Bank.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
Okay. JP Morgan acquired 2 or 3 banks, and they got indigestion. Okay, there's something called, this is really fascinating to me. There's something they call the bad bank, the bad bank division within a bank. The bad bank division holds all your insolvent and worthless assets. Oh my gosh, we couldn't dump that for 18 cents on the dollar. Okay, put it in the bad bank. Well, JP Morgan realized our bank has gotten too big. We need to stop this. Oh my gosh. So they stopped it. They stopped acquiring. And Janet Yellen's goal, her dream of a gigantic, controllable monolith of JP Morgan with 80 acquisitions funded by funny money, didn't work. I think
That's
these
good.
banks, I think these banks are in such insolvency trouble that they're going to have trouble joining. They're going to have trouble merging. It's going to be interesting. They're going to have trouble surviving, each one individually. Okay.
Interesting.
Remember 2 years ago, we had $850 billion of unrealized bond losses. Well, now it's down to like 500, 520. Some people say it's 480. Well, they're dumping their treasuries. Who are they selling them to? Foreigners are dumping. US banks are dumping. Foreigners are dumping.
Who's
US banks
buying?
are dumping. Exactly. That you went right where I was going. I think it's called the Exchange Stabilization Fund
So the Fed is buying back treasury bonds.
through the Exchange Stabilization Fund. Now, they just boasted, and I had a quick story on this in my newsletter today. They had the largest foreign participation bidding in a treasury auction in years. Well, what if the Fed handed money under the table with dollar swaps to Ireland, Brussels, Cayman Island, Bermuda, and a couple of others? And that comes across as foreign bid.
They
Oh,
could have.
golly. Okay. They got caught doing that before. I exposed that a year ago, Brock. I showed how the TIC report, the Treasury International Capital, how it jumped up for Brussels, it jumped up for Belgium. The Belgium Central Bank jumped up in their treasuries exactly when the Fed said they had big foreign participation, and the dollar swaps were high also. Dollar swaps mean foreign central banks borrow boatloads of money from the Fed. Okay, this is how it happened, under the table. And the giveaway is that 2 or 3 months later, it went right back down for Belgium. So where'd it go?
Wow.
It went back to the United States where it originated from. That's where the money came from. Okay, a lot of people just don't follow through. And I got some really sharp colleagues. I give a lot of credit to my colleagues. I give a lot of credit to at least 30, maybe 50 different clients. They communicate with me every single week, and some of them do every single day. So I like to respond to them every day or two. It's not easy. I'm very busy. I don't get many breaks, and I get a lot of persecution. So I invite people to go to golden-jackass.com, sign up for the newsletter. If you don't like newsletters, make a donation. If you love these shows, make a donation, make it regularly. I'm getting an increasing number of people making regular donations, and they've been now doing it for like a year or two or more. And I just love that. They can sign up for the newsletter also and make like regular payments, and they don't have to think about it. And they can read what they want. I got 11 chapters this week, and one of them is AI. One of them is on von der Leyen. She's in big trouble in Brussels at the European Commission. They've nailed her for Pfizer bribery involving her husband, billions. I got a chapter on the dollar. I got a chapter on Ukraine. Oh my gosh, these are exciting times, and it's important for us to survive and get to the other side. It's like it's like Stalingrad. We're being attacked. We need to cross the river and get to the other side. I'm being silly in my analogy, but I just want to make it through to the other side, Brock. And I had some persecution recently that was almost fatal. And another very serious attempt that almost resulted in a death in my extended family. And this is very serious stuff. We've got a two-headed fascist monster attacking us. And it's bankers and doctors. And there's a great deal of collusion with the global institutions like the Gates Foundation, the Center of Disease Control, a number of other, and there's collusion all over the place. Donald Trump and Robert Kennedy have gone after the medical journals. Don't know if you've heard about that. And they're going to create new journals for the National Institutes of Science, and that's a plural for institute. There's several institutes of science in the NIH, and Fauci was involved in that. And anyone who thinks that the Fauci being charged is the original Fauci, you got another thing coming. The original Fauci is long gone. This is a second Fauci. They're going to smear and destroy and sack the wealth of the name.
That's right. Yep.
Kind of like what they did with, oh gosh, Henry Kissinger. He got replaced. That was a clone the last 5 years. High quality clone. They're doing the same thing now with Klaus Schwab. I think he died a year ago. So they're killing the name. The Vatican, Pope Francis Bergoglio, the fascist Pope from Argentina, responsible for collusion for 40,000 young men being killed. They killed the name. That wasn't a funeral. That was a name kill event. He was executed 2 years ago. The Vatican's being exposed as a satanic sanctuary. Okay, this is really dicey stuff. Sign up for the newsletter, make a donation if you're very wealthy and want to help me out in a big way. Hit the sponsor button, contact me for bank wire data. I am really getting harmed, and I wouldn't mind if I got to the other side in the next year or two, where I can, hang up my cleats. I don't say hang up my athletic supporter, because I'm a gentleman. Hang up my cleats, hang up my sweatpants. My uniform at the office is sweatpants and a t-shirt. I do interviews in sweatpants. I'm in sweatpants right now. You're in a t-shirt, but I'm a little more classy with a button-down collared shirt. All right. Go golden-jackass.com. Sign up for the newsletter, make a donation, hit the sponsor button. I'm also available for consulting, and they're a lot of fun, and they're interesting. I have very rarely does anybody say, "Well, Jim, I don't know about that consult session. I didn't get a lot out of it." No, it's always, that was really fun. That was really useful. I appreciate your time, especially the extra time I give, because I'm a good doobie. All right. Thanks for having me on, Brock. It's been great as usual. I really enjoyed talking with you and connecting. And
Thank you, Jim.
I wish you well. And I got to say that the Lord Jesus has picked me up numerous times, including in May, in this month. Picked me up, laid out a path. I just, honestly, I need a big sponsor. I need a billionaire sponsor to come forth and really help me out, because you really need to do a consult session to hear the incredible long list of things that have happened in my life. We just had the 8th death, Brock, number 8 death, and they're all costly. The details another time. So thanks for having me on, and Godspeed. And I thank the Lord Jesus for all the help. When I get a big donation, I go to both knees and I
thank the
thank the Lord.
Creator.
I thank the Lord. My words are usually thank you for the hand to touch this client. Your hand that touched my client on the shoulder. It works in strange ways. We don't know the mysterious ways that the Lord works, but a guy today might have been told by the Lord when he opened up the newsletter that was posted today, and something got into his head. I'm going to help out Jim today.
Yep.
We just don't know. I call it the hand of God touching his shoulder.
That's right.
And it's fascinating. And maybe on the other side, after I'm done with this world, I'll learn more about the devices. I'm very curious where my parents are right now. I pray for them. My mother died in 2007. My dad died in 2020. I love them very much. I miss them. And they were the glue that held our family together because my brother is a New York Times moron. And my sister is wonderful, but she's just not interested in much of what's going on. She's very busy and she's got her work, she's got her business, and I don't blame anybody for that. But when they're trying to kill us with a genocide tool, and when they're putting out a fake president who died in 2018, in my opinion, Biden, and when they're using an auto pen to steal billions and grant,
Because he couldn't legally sign because he was deceased.
they're saying he had cognitive disability. And I say, well, yeah, dead people tend to have that. Dead people have trouble
Do you,
thinking.
do
Dead
you, do you,
people,
let me say this quick. Do you know why they were using the auto pen other than legal reasons? Because they had the actor with the face mask that was, I think he was left-handed instead of right, or and he was signing the wrong way. So they initially would put up the executive orders and say and compare it, and we in the truther realm would take this screenshot of that and compare it to the old Joe Biden signature when he was vice president with Obama, and it was not a match.
it
So
was
then
not a
they
man.
said, we're going to use the auto pen so that people don't catch on.
I showed that 2.5 years ago in my newsletter.
I know
They
you
did
did.
not match. They did not match. They were close. The B was different, and the junior was different. The B for Biden and the junior, they were different. So they resolved that, but they created a different problem that I think is worse. The auto pen is worse because then it's who ran the auto pen? I think it was Elizabeth Warren, it was Jill Biden, Jill, the wife, and it was someone named Neera, a really nasty staffer who everybody was afraid of. And who was giving all the orders? I think it was Obama.
Yeah.
It's Obama's third term. Okay, they created a bigger problem. But we saw the masks
It's going to
and
be
we
interesting.
we saw the hand go through the microphone.
Yep, we did during the inauguration. Yeah.
The inauguration with a 7-gun salute,
Yep,
which is the funeral.
that's
Okay,
right.
and no military markings on the lapel, which is CIA.
Correct.
Okay, okay. I think Trump is going inch by inch, Brock, and the conclusion is going to be Biden was dead.
It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing all that come out.
Yeah, me too. It's going to be scary though, because as we get higher and higher in the importance level of the treason, we're going to have greater and greater devastating threats to our society to kill us.
I know,
All right,
but we'll
but
hang in there. Thank you
we'll
for
hang.
coming. Thank you for coming on.
All right, it's been great. Thanks for everything. Bye now.